Mm, okay, so thanks for joining. So we'll start the today's demo session. Okay. So before starting the demo session, let me give you the details about the course and the time of the course. Okay. So we are planning duration of the course would be the 45 days. Okay. Okay, so duration will be the 45 days. Okay, so in this 45 days, what you are going to learn in this API testing course? Okay, that is the question, right? So the time we are planning is, so we already have a batch of a 7 a.m. So for this batch, we are going to combine this batch. Okay, so we already started a previous week a batch for 7 a.m. So for this batch only, we are again going to combine overall, enrolling now. Okay. So now in this 45 days, okay, so what you're going to learn in this API testing course? So that is the question, right? So before you are learning something or before you are enrolling, so you have to be very clear with what are the things you are going to learn, whether it is useful for you or not. Or if you are working in an organization, or you are a fresher, or you are an experienced candidate, or whether whatever the course or whatever the content we are covering is helpful for or not. So you have to be very clear with that. Okay. Yeah. So this API testing. So in this, we are dividing a course into a three parts. So one is manual. Okay. So one is manual part, and next is automation part, and then is framework part. Okay. So we are not taking different course for the manual approach and also different course for the automation and for the framework itself. I mean to say framework is nothing but a project for the different course. Okay. So we are not taking any different course. In the same course itself, we are combining all the three parts. Okay. So when it comes to the manual, so what is the manual approach of API testing? So that is the question, right? So when it comes to the manual, performing a API testing through some tools. Okay, so in the market we have so many tools, like we have a Postman, we have a RestAssured, and we have some other tools also we have. Okay, but most of the organization prefer to use the Postman tool, so we are also learning the same tool in this course. Okay, so we are performing a API testing of a manual approach using a Postman tool. Okay. So here we are learning about the Postman. So what we are learning in this manual approach? So why we are going with this manual approach? Okay. So if I directly take you to the automation approach, so what happens here? So maybe you should be having some language, means Java language or Python language or any other language, programming language knowledge you must require in order to work with the automation. Okay. If I directly take you to this automation, maybe you may find difficulty while you're learning, right? So what we are doing in this course is, first we are starting with the manual approach, that is using a Postman tool. So once you are getting some complete hold on the things like what is API testing, how to use the Postman tool, what are the functionalities available in the Postman tool, and how to access the particular functionality in order to send the request to the server, in order to get the response from the server. Okay, so once you're understanding some basic idea about the APIs, okay, while working with the tool, okay, it's much easier when you're working with the tools than you're directly jumping into the coding, right? So first we will be getting some basic idea, means like base part we will be learning here. So once you're getting some idea on it, once you're getting some hold on it, then we will be jumping into the automation part. Okay, so here in the manual approach, so what you are learning, maybe you are a fresher, or you are a maybe you're working in a manual testing, and you want to work with a API testing with a manual approach. So after covering this manual thing, you can start applying a job, or you can start working in your organization if they are if it's required in your organization to work in the API testing. Okay, or else if you are working in the manual part and you want to jump into the automation. Okay, so after covering this, then we will be jumping into the automation. Okay, so that is by using a different library that I will be telling you now. Okay, so now in this manual approach, what you are going to learn and what are the tools you are going to work with. Okay, so here we are using a Postman tool. So in this, first we are learning the functionality or the features available in the Postman tool. So which is helpful for us to perform the API testing using REST APIs. Okay, so you all know, right? So we have a different types of APIs testing, right? So we have a SOAP API testing and we have a REST API testing, right? So but nowadays no one is using a SOAP approach, which is already a old technology. So always 80% of the organization will be using a REST services only. So here also we are learning a latest technology that is nothing but REST APIs. Okay, so in this first we will be understanding a tool knowledge. Okay, so if you go here, okay. So this is a Postman
Hello,
tool. Okay, yes,
hello.
yes.
Screen is not visible. Screen is not visible. Now only connected code
Oh my
button is
God.
coming.
Okay, 1 second, yeah, I'll just check. Oh shit. Okay, so now is it fine? Is it fine?
Yes, yes.
Yes, madam.
Hope
Yes, yes.
it's visible, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yes.
okay, thank you. Okay, so this is a Postman tool. So first what we are learning. So first we will be learning before jumping into the API testing, we have some basics, we have some basics information about, what is API testing, why it is required, why we are performing the API testing. We already have a manual testing, we have automation testing using, Selenium and other approach also we have, right? So again, why we are performing this API testing? What is the use of performing this API testing? Okay, so and importance of API testing and how we can perform this. Okay, so all those things first we are learning the basics, and before jumping into the API part, we have to understand what is web URL. Okay, so what is web URL? What are the parameter it contains? What are the mandatory parameter? What are the optional parameter? All those things first we have to learn. Okay, so after learning about the web URL, okay, after learning about the web URL, then we will be jumping into the understanding of the JSON language. Okay, so here you will be learning a JSON also. Okay, so why we are learning the JSON, I will tell you now. Okay, but first understand what are the things that we are going to learn. Okay, so first we will understand, this is very basic concepts. I know web URL is the very basic concept. Sometimes we miss to understand basic concepts only. Okay, so in this, while we are, when we are receive a API from the developer, okay, what are the mandatory parameter we need to consider, or what are the parameter it is, it is available, we are able to understand what are the parameter is available in the current URL and how I can access that. Okay, so after learning the web URL, then we are jumping into the JSON language. Okay. So why we are going with the JSON language? We already have a HTML, XML, so other format also we have. Okay. Why we have to use the JSON language? What is the advantages over the other language in JSON language? Okay. So after learning the advantage and disadvantage, everything on the JSON, then we are learning how we can create a data in the JSON, how we can create a object, how we can create a complex data, how we can create a nested data. Because while we are working, we may not know what kind of data we will be receiving, right? So we should be aware how we can handle all those data. Okay, so here we'll be learning JSON as well. After learning the JSON, then we are going with the Postman tool. Okay, so Postman tool. First, first start working with the Postman. First, we have to understand the tool. Okay, Means what is this tool? What are the functionality available in this tool? How to make use of this tool? Okay, in order to work with the API testing. So all these things. See here we have a workspace. Why we need a workspace? Okay, and what is the advantage of this workspace? We have a collection. Why this required? Okay, if the collection is not there, how it will works? Okay, then what is this environment? How to maintain the different environment? When we are working in an organization, we will be working with the different types of environments, right? We will be having a QA environment, we'll be having a dev, prod, pre-prod, okay? So how to handle my API with a different kind of environments, okay? So all the environments we need to handle here in order to test whether it is working, perfectly fine in all the kind of environments, okay? So then how to work with a mock server. So why the mock server is required? What is the advantages of this mock server? Okay. So after learning this, then what is environments, then what are the different environments available? We have a local environment, we have a global environment, we have a collection level environment, we have a request level environment. So when to use all those environments? Okay. So when it comes to here, so we have something called as a authorization. Okay, so we have something called as a pre-request script, and we have a test. Okay, so how to make use of this authorization? Okay, when you click here, we also have different kind of authentication. So when to use all this authentication, and for example, we will be not using all the type of authentication. Maybe any one of the type we will be using in this list of authentication. Maybe you will be using a API key, you will be using a auth2 or auth1 or barrier token, anything it may be. That depends upon your developer or your organization, how they are preferring. Okay, so how to make use of this? If you are not authorizing our request, what happens? Basically, why we have to do this authentication? All the steps will be done here. Okay, and the request script and scripts. So how to perform the validation after sending the request to the server? We'll be getting back a response back from the server, right? So how to validate those requests? So this is what we are doing right in the testing. So we will be not having any UI here because this is not a front-end testing. If you have a front-end testing, so you will be having a UI. So you have to test the functionality over there. But here you're working with a business logic. Okay. So first understand this. I will tell you that later. So here you will be validating after getting the response. You will be validating here. So how to perform this validation? How to make use of these scripts to perform the validation that we are receiving from the server? Okay. So in the functionality testing also, what you will do, you will be checking with actual with that expected. So here also you are sending a request and you are expecting some response from the server, and you are getting some response here, and you have to validate that whether I'm getting the proper response or not from the server. Okay, so that is how that is what we are doing here in the test. And this pre-request is something, as a name suggests, before sending the request, if you want to do something with respect to our request, or if you want to send some data to the server, so how you can make use of this pre-request in order to send some data, or in order to send some information to the server. Okay, so how you can make use of the scripts here to handle this request. Okay, then when it comes to here, this we can call as an HTTP method. Okay, so we have all the list of HTTP methods, but in this the most important method is the get method, post method, put method, patch and delete. Okay, so this we called as an CRUD operation, nothing but business operation. Okay, so all these methods are available here. How to make use of these different methods, and what are the scenarios to make use of these different methods will be learning. Okay, and apart from that, we have other topics as well, like a data-driven testing, how to perform the data-driven testing, and how to perform how to create a regression suite, or how to create a smoke suite, how to integrate the Jenkins, how to generate the report. So all those things will be included here. Maybe you will be receiving a course content details. Okay, if I go through all the content details, the session will completely with explanation of the content only. Okay, so I don't want to do that in the session. So you just go through the content that you will be receiving through the mail. Okay, just I'm giving a overview here. Okay. So after learning Postman tool, and after learning the functionality or the scenarios which we have to perform inside the Postman tool, so then
Excuse me, madam. Just one query here, madam. So,
mhm,
is it possible to perform performance testing using this Postman tool?
yes, it's possible. So you will be having a performance testing in the sense. So what we can do here, so you will be sending a request and getting back the response. Okay, so there it will capture how much of time it has taken to get the response from the server. Okay, maybe you will be having some expectation like it has to give us the response within some millisecond. You have to take you have to extract the response time that it is taking, and you have to perform the validation over that, like whether it is meeting my speed or not, whatever the time you are giving, so whether it is matching with that or not. So that kind we can do. If it is not matching with that means, you can again inform back to the developer and they will try to optimize the service.
No,
Okay,
that
so
is
let's
where
start.
yes, yes, I got your point. That is one way of managing the performance. Let's say I want bulk operation needs to be performed at a time. Let's say you are creating some account for a customer, and that customer, at the initial stage, I am performing only one request to create the account, but the customer needs to be 100 account needs to be created, and he want to see how much time it is going to take to create the 100
Yes.
accounts for that particular
Yes, yes.
request.
Yeah, I got it.
Is-
Got it. Got
yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. Okay. Data driven is nothing but that only. You can do that. Okay. At a time, you can create a, multiple requests. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So this will all be discussed. Okay. Miss, just I will give the overview on this now as part of the demo. But whatever the things you are asking, that we can do. Okay. At a time, obviously, right? Whenever you are working in a project, by the time maybe you are receiving a, say suppose a scenario like you are receiving a multiple policies to create at a time. Okay. So you have a
yes,
list of policies with you to create at a time, but it's not a good approach to create it one by one. You have to create that at a time, right? So
correct, correct.
that you can do. That you can do. Okay. So that will
Okay,
also be performing. We are also performing an exam scenario to demonstrate that. Okay.
okay, okay. Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am.
Yeah. So where I was. Okay. So after covering, working with an Postman, so then we are jumping into the automation. Okay. So before jumping into the automation, so we have some prerequisite. So what is the prerequisite? So we are working with automation with the Java language. Okay. So we are working with the Java language. Okay. So before jumping into this automation, so we will be spending some days here, right, to learn with the Postman tool and to learn, all the scenarios to work with the Postman tool. We'll be spending some time. So within that, I want you guys to go through the basics of Java. Okay. I will also be, while I'm working with the scenarios, whatever the Java concepts comes, I will also be explaining in parallel, but I'm not completely spending my time in Java explanation. Okay? So you have to go through the basics of Java. I'm not expecting to you have a deep knowledge on the Java. Okay, so just if you know the basics, like OOPS concept, what is class, what is object, what is method, how to work with the OOPS concept, how to work with the inheritance, how to work with the polymorphism, and how to handle the exceptions. Okay, and access modifier and data types, variable declaration, just this basics information. Okay, if you know these basics information, that is more than enough to work with the automation here. Okay, so Java basics required. So after the Java basics, and so you should have some knowledge on the test engine. If you don't have a knowledge on the test engine is also fine. I will be covering while I'm creating a scenarios in the automation. Okay. So here we have used the Postman tool to perform the manual testing. Okay. So what we can use here, which tool we can use here to perform the automation testing is the question, right? So we are performing a automation of the REST APIs using a RestAssured. Okay, so this RestAssured is the Java library. Using this library, we are performing a automation of the REST APIs. Okay, so here we are using a Postman tool to cover the scenarios. So what are all the scenarios we have covered here? The same scenarios will be working with the automation, but it's in a different approach, that is using a RestAssured. So the thing is, after covering this part using a Postman, so if you want to apply for the job, or if you want to make use of your services with respect to the Postman tool, and you can start applying that concept here. Okay. So or else if you want to learn completely the automation, so after completing the automation, you can start applying, or you can start using in your whatever the service you have, all those things you can just achieve that. Okay. So but just I'm telling, so after completing this also, you can start working on the services. Okay. So here how to make use of this RestAssured here. Okay, so we have a Java knowledge, we have a test engine, and how to make use of a RestAssured. So we have an official website of a RestAssured. Okay, so this is the official website of the RestAssured. Okay, so always remember, whenever you are working in any of the library, or any of the new language, you have to refer the official website. Okay, so what are the things they have discussed here, what are the content they have provided here, so we have to complete, we have to cover all the concepts here. Okay, so I'm referring official website here in order to cover the topics that they have provided in the official website. So we will be working on all the concepts which they have provided here. Okay, so I will tell you how to read this document and how to make use of the dependencies or other information they have provided. I will just tell you by going forward. Okay, so basically we are using a RestAssured to perform the automation here. That's it. Okay, so in this RestAssured, we will be working with the first we will be understanding what is RestAssured, and how we can make use of this RestAssured in order to perform the REST API testing. Okay, and how we can make use of methods and classes and interfaces which is available inside this RestAssured. Okay, so after that we have a concepts like a login concept, means whenever we are executing the test cases or test scripts, so how to log those information. And we have a concept called a request specification and response specification, so which is basically how we can avoid the duplication of the code. Okay, and also we have a concepts like a performing a CRUD operation, like here we have seen, right? So we have a post, put, patch, delete, all the methods we have, right? So here it's in the tool, means it's just a simple, so we can select the method and we can start working with this. Okay, but when it comes to the RestAssured, we have to create that method in order to work with the particular methods. Okay, so how we can perform the CRUD operation. Okay, how we can perform the CRUD operation, means nothing but a business operation. Okay, okay, so in this we basically learning how to work with the get, how to work with the post, how to work with the put, how to work with the delete. Okay, so this is nothing but a business operation. So why we call it as a business operation or the CRUD operation? Say suppose you have an application. Okay, so you have an application, maybe consider it's an HDFC bank account. Okay, this is an bank, this is an application to create a account. Okay, maybe first you have to create a account, means in the bank server you have to store your details. Okay, so which method you have to use? You have to make use of a post method in order to create the data inside the server. Okay, so after creating the data, maybe you have provided some wrong information. You have to update your phone number, or you have to update your address, something you have to perform the updation. Okay, so by that time you have to make use of a put method. Maybe you want to get the information of your account. Okay, means which is already available inside the server, but now you want to get the information about the account. So you have to retrieve the data from the server, right? So you have to make use of a get method here. Then maybe you don't want to continue the service with the STFC. Okay, you fed up with the whatever the offers they are providing. Okay, you are not happy with the offers. Okay, you want to delete your account. You want to no longer you don't want to continue the service with the STFC. So you want to delete your account. So by the time what you have to do, you have to make use of delete method. So this is if you take any application, this is what a business operation means. This is what we do usually. Okay, so how to perform those kind of scenarios in the RestAssured. Okay, so we will be learning completely here, and also we'll be learning like working with a complex data, working with a complex data, and working with nested data. Okay, and we can perform the post request in many ways. Okay, in multiple ways. Okay, so how we can perform the post request in multiple ways means creation of the data inside the server. We have many ways. Okay, we can also create a single data by using a particular method. So now someone has asked, right, if you want to create a bulk data inside the server, we have to go for the different approach. Okay, so creation itself we have a multiple ways according to the scenario. So we have to make use of the particular approach. Okay, so what are the multiple ways we have and how we can perform that inside the server. Okay, so that we will be learning. So after this, something called as a validation. Okay, how we can perform the validation on the response. Okay, and after this we call JSON annotation. See, we have many subtopics in this. Okay, I'm not mentioning all the topics here. Maybe you'll be receiving a content detail. Okay, so just go through that. So if you have any queries, later you can ask me. Okay, so we'll be working with a JSON annotation. So after covering a JSON annotation, we will be working with something called as a lambok. Sorry. We'll be working with the Pojo class creation. So after creating the Pojo class, we'll be working with a lambok. Okay, so what is lambok, how it is useful, all this will be learning. Okay, so after covering all the required things in the automation part, so then what we will be doing, we will be integrating with the Hadoop framework. Okay, so after integrating with the Hadoop framework, so why Hadoop framework? For the reporting purpose. Okay, so after integrating with the Hadoop framework, we'll be working with the GitHub integration. Okay, so after integrating with the GitHub, the finally we'll be integrating with the Jenkins. Okay. So why Jenkins? Because execution. Okay, now we will be doing in a local, right? So we should not do in the local, right? Finally, our execution has to happen in the Jenkins. Okay, so how we can integrate our framework. Okay, we will be working with the framework as well here. So after creating the framework, how we can integrate with a GitHub and Hadoop and Jenkins. So finally, we have to run our framework in the Jenkins. Okay, it should not happen inside the local. So it has to run inside the Jenkins and it has to give me the result saying how many test scripts are passed and how many test scripts are failing. And it has to give me the clear report about the pass percentage and fail percentage. Okay, based on the fail percentage, you have to start working again by looking into the failure scenarios. Okay, so this is what the plan. Like first we are covering the manual and automation, but make sure I'm not writing all the content here. Just go through the content details they will be sending to the mail, right? Just go through that. So first, after covering the automation, here in the automation we'll be working with the this one. Yeah, okay. Official document. Okay, in the official document, whatever the concept they are specified, everything will be covering here. So after covering each and every topic, then we will be jumping into the framework implementation. So what we are doing here, so we'll be spending a lot of time here, right? In the manual part learning, in the automation part learning. So till completion of this automation part, we'll be working with each and every scenario. Okay, after covering each and every scenario here in the automation, then we are jumping into the framework. Okay, so in the framework, you will be guiding me to create the scenario. Okay, so whatever the concepts we are learned here, we will be combining here in the framework. Okay, so means more systematically and more dynamically we are handling here. That's it. Okay, here maybe we'll be going with the conceptual wise. Here we will be combining each and every concept, and then we will be creating a dynamically handling way of program. Okay, so after creating the framework, then we will be integrating with other integration frameworks which is available in the market. Allure is the right now we are not using a extend report and all. Okay, Allure is the one we are using in whether it is a front end testing or it is a back end testing, whatever it may be. So we are using the Allure framework because of its own advantage. We will be discussing while we are learning this. Okay, and also GitHub. Obviously, we will be not having our framework in the local, right? We should use some a storage thing, right, to send my details, means send my project and all. We should not have in our local. So to hold our project, we'll be using a GitHub, and how we can send from our local IDE to GitHub all the project information and whatever the changes we are doing in daily. So that will be learning here. Okay, basically GitHub integration will be learning. So after integrating this GitHub and Hadoop, then how we can integrate the both GitHub information and Allure information and my framework inside the Jenkins, and how we can perform the Jenkins run. Okay, and how we can perform the scheduled run also we'll be seeing here. Okay, so this is what we will be learning in this 45 duration of time. And make sure we will be not having a Saturday and Sundays. Okay, it's just a weekdays, but in Saturday Sunday, if I am also free and if you guys also free, if you are interested to connect, that is an exceptional case that we will be connected. Okay, and so this is what the plan about the course content. Okay, okay, so now we'll discuss some more details about API testing. Okay. 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 So what is API testing then? What is API testing? You can make use of a chat window. If you can't unmute yourself and speak, then you can make use of a chat window. But I want session to be interactive. Okay, otherwise I will get a sleep. Yeah. What is API testing? Why we need to perform API testing? Am I audible?
Application
Yes.
programming interface, ma'am. Hello.
Application
Application
programming. Yeah,
interface.
yeah. Okay.
The testing.
So,
The
okay.
testing which you can't see, known as API testing. Okay.
Okay.
Like
The
we
testing
search
which you can see is known as API testing.
and we search Google, we search Facebook, WhatsApp,
Okay.
Uber, Swiggy. Here we search only, but we don't know what is happening inside. Okay. Here we search in Google. We go search in Google, but this connected direct connected to Facebook, WhatsApp, and make my trip and banking website. Okay.
Okay.
We communication with another application.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay. So API means yeah. So API means application programming interface. Okay. As the name suggests, okay, it is an interface between the two application. So suppose this is a client application. This is a server. This is a client and this is a server. Okay, so maybe this application has built in a Java language. Okay, this application has built in a Java language, and this has been built in the Python. Okay. Okay, so what's happening here? So this application wants some information from this application. Okay, so this application want some information from this application, which is Python language. Okay. Okay, Dishman. Yeah. Okay. So this application is requesting some information from this application. What's happening here is this application is built in the Java language, and this is speaking in the Java language. And this application is built in the Python language, and this application wants to communicate in the Python language only. So whatever this application is requesting in Java language, this application is not able to understand. And whatever this application is sending information to this application is not able to understand because it is sending in a Python language. So there is a confusion that what he is asking or she is asking, or what he is or she is responding. Okay, so in order to make seamless communication in between these two applications, okay, so we are integrating the API. So that is nothing but application programming interface. In between the two applications, to have a seamless communication, we are integrating the API. Okay. So here we are integrating the API in between these two applications. So in general example, for example, so I know English and you guys know English. So I'm communicating in English. So you guys are able to understand what I'm, requesting and what you guys are responding to me, right? So if I speak in Kannada, if you guys know some other language like, Hindi or Telugu or Tamil, so how you can able to understand whatever I'm speaking? You don't know that language, right? So in the similar way here also, so we have this Java application here, and we have this Python application. To have a seamless communication in between two applications, we have to integrate the API. Okay, so now think about the application which we have in real time now. So how the application is all about the APIs only. For example, take an example of a Ola, okay, and take an example of a Make My Book. What is it? Book My Show, right? Yeah. Make My Trip, Book My Show. Okay, all these applications. So in Ola, so whenever you want to book some, book some, you want to book a ride. So you are selecting a address, right? So from where it is coming? So it is coming from the Google Map API, which means that Ola application is, integrated with the Google Map. They are, they are taking a service from the Google Map APIs in order to have the map details in the Ola application. Okay. So now, API testing come into the picture. Maybe you are, taking the service from the Google application. So you have to test like, whatever the service you are receiving from the Google application, you are able to receive it or not. Properly Google Map is responding for your request from the Ola or not. So all this testing you have to perform, right? So this what API testing come into the picture. Okay. So now here, okay. So we are telling that we are integrating a API here. Okay. So in this API, which language we are using in order to make understand of the both the language? Is, for example, I'm speaking in English, you also know English, it's a common language, you are able to understand, I am able to understand. Okay, so here also we are integrating a API, that is fine, but which language we are using in between this? So that is nothing but JSON. Okay, so you got to know, right, why we are learning the JSON? Because we have to create a request, we have to get the response in the JSON, because JSON is something all the languages can able to understand, because this is a language independent. Okay, so all the languages can able to understand this JSON language, because this is a language independent. There's no any language dependency for the JSON. Okay, so we are integrating a API in order to communicate between the two application or a client and server, and inside the API we are making use of a JSON language. So before jumping into the API testing, so what we have to learn? So we have to learn the JSON language. So how to create a data inside the JSON, how to create an object inside the JSON, or how to create a complex data or nested data, how to handle the data basically with the help of the JSON syntax. Okay, so completely we'll be learning here JSON. So after yeah, okay, so here we are integrating a API in order to have the seamless communication. Okay, for that, what are all the prerequisites is required? We will be learning first, then we are jumping into that. Okay, so this is what the plan that we are doing here. Okay, and also, okay, so give any other example, like how make my trip works. How make my trip works. So what happens in the make my trip? Okay, so this is a make my trip application. Okay, yeah, so here I have a flight information. Okay, so here I'm selecting, okay, maybe from a Bangalore to Hyderabad. Okay, so maybe it's a 9th. I'm searching for the flight here to travel from Bangalore to Hyderabad. Okay, so which is giving me list of the flights which is available on the particular date and particular location. Okay, so don't you think this Air Asia and this Akasha Hill and Indigo, okay, so all these are also a different airline services. These also have their own application, right? For example, if you want a Indigo, like okay, see, if you open here Indigo, it has its own application. Okay, so if we come here and if we search for the flight also, here also we'll get the details about the flight. Okay, so how come this information is coming in the make my trip is a question now. Okay, how come this information is coming, means what are the flights information is available in the Indigo is also available in the make my trip. Okay, and is this Air Asia, if you open the Air Asia airline services, so this is also airline services and it is also having its own application. Okay, so if you open this, what are all the flight services is available for the particular date and for a particular time, so it will also be available in the make my trip. So how it's possible to have this information over here? How it's possible? What's happening in the background? What we are doing here?
We are communicating through API.
Yeah, okay. So this make my trip, okay, is taking the Indigo services here. Means it is taking the API services from the Indigo. Okay, so inside the make my trip, we are consuming the AirAsia or Indigo, other airline services API. So this information will be available here. Okay, so this is how API works. So if you take any of the application, all the application dependent on the API only. So for that reason, so API development as well as API testing high in the demand in the market. Okay, if you look at the Naukri, if you search for the job, okay, all the organization expecting candidate to have a knowledge on the API testing. Why? Because all the application is dependent on the API only. So we have to make sure whatever the in our application, whatever the service we are integrating or whatever we are requesting from the other services is perfectly working or not, is working as per our expectation or not. We have to test that, right? So for that, to test that, we should have a knowledge on the API testing. Okay, so that's why nowadays API testing is high in demand. Okay, so this is one example where we are using in a real time. If we take any of the application in real time, we will be making use of APIs, almost all the application. Okay, okay. So any doubt with respect to this till now, whatever we covered? Okay, so now when it comes to API, okay, so I already told you that API HTTP methods. Okay, we have a API HTTP methods. So what are the HTTP methods we have in the API? So we have a get method, we have a push method, we have a put method, we have a delete method. Okay, so these are all the HTTP methods. Not only these methods, we have some more methods. Okay, so but these are the basic HTTP methods we have. Okay, so along with that, you know already, right? What is, why the get is used here? Why get method is used? Get is used to retrieve the data. Okay, so and post is used to create the data, and put is used to update the data. Okay, and delete is used to delete the data. Okay, now something called as patch method. Okay, so we have something called as a patch method. Okay, so now the question is, for all the other action, I mean to say, to retrieve the data from the server, to create the data inside the server, to update the data inside the server, and to delete the data inside the server. So we have all the single methods, but only for this updation, we have two methods. That is nothing but put and patch method. Okay, so the both method is for the updation. So now the question is, when to do the when to perform the put action and when to perform the patch action. Okay, why we have two methods for the updation? Okay, so why we have two methods for the updation? In technically speaking, so put is nothing but updating all the content, all the data. Okay, and patch is nothing but updating partial data. Okay. So say suppose you have data inside the server. You want to update completely all the data, maybe your phone number, your email ID, your address, etc. Okay, so then we can go for the put method. Put is for complete updation, entire data updation. Okay, so patch is for partial updation. I mean to say, maybe in the list of data you have, you want to update your phone number alone. You have changed your number, you want to update that. Maybe you have changed your address, you want to change the address. So that is nothing but partial updation. So by the time we have to make use of a patch method. Okay, but the thing is, so even though we have a differentiation like this, but when it comes to the real time, this is not the way that we are following. It's completely, the usage of the put and patch is completely depend on the developer of your particular project. Okay, means your developer. Okay, if your developer is wishing to have two methods for the updation purpose, means some developer are very specific with respect to the process. Okay, no, I want to have a put method for complete updation. Okay, so I want to have a patch method for the partial updation. I don't want to combine the both operation with a single method. If he is very specific developer, he will define two methods. Okay, if he has defined the two methods, we also have to make use of two methods while we are testing. Okay, so if he has, okay, if he's okay to some developers are like, why to have two methods? Okay, anyway, finally we are performing a updation only. Okay, so why to have a two methods for the updation purpose only? Why to define again one more method? Let's have whether it is a partial, whether it is a complete updation, let's have it in a single only. Okay, single method. So if he is defined like the, So maybe if he has used the put method, we have to make use of a put method. Okay. So how we will get to know which method they have used? So whenever we are working in a API, okay, so we will be getting a Swagger document. Okay, we'll be getting a complete detail from the developer, like what method they are using, what authentication they are using, what data they are using, and what are the endpoints is a mandatory endpoints, parameters are a mandatory parameter, and what endpoints they are using, and what are the things we have to make use while we are testing the particular service. Okay, so we'll get to know clearly about the data about the APIs in the Swagger document. Okay, by looking into that, we have to select. Okay, so while we are working in the further sessions, we will be making use of all those methods, and I will be showing you, okay, how we can do all those things. So this is one of basic general example. Okay, so in interview they may ask you, have you used your patch method? Okay, so if you want to talk about, if you are, if you are, working in the organization, if you're not used with, that's fine. Okay, you can tell like, no, we are not used the patch method, because for a complete updation, for partial updation, we have used the put method. Okay, if you want to specify about the patch method, if you want to talk about the patch method, if you have a industrial experience, then whatever you are using, you can specify that. If you don't have an industrial experience on the API, if you want to talk about the patch method, then only you specify that. Or else you can simply say like, we don't have a we were not using a two methods, we just using a put method for the updation. Okay, so this is one of basic information. Okay, and also now the question is, here post method is used to create the data. Okay, and put method is used to update the data. Can we use put method for creation of the data? Can we use put method for creation of the data?
According to developer,
Yeah, very good. Okay, so according to the developer. Okay, so if he has defined, okay, for the creation also put method in the backend, okay, so we have to make use of put method. Okay, so this is what the basic information about all the method. Some other interview questions will be there. By going forward, I will be discussing that. Okay, so this is what I have to discuss for as part of the demo session. Maybe you have already gone through the workshop, right? In that I have discussed some other basics concepts like a web URL, and what are the parameter it contains, to make use of all the parameter, what are the mandatory parameter, what are the optional parameter. All those things we have already discussed. Hope you remember, right? Is it clear?
Yes, madam. Actually, I didn't attend your demo session earlier, so but whatever the things you have explained today, it's good. It's enough to understand.
Okay. So if some of you missed the workshop session, okay, I will just inform the management to send a link of the workshop along with the mail. Just go through that. There are also some basics details, before the API test this concept. So some basic information we have discussed already. Okay. So if you are not aware of that, if you again need an explanation on those things, okay, in the coming session, I will again discuss all those concepts. Okay. But as part of today's session, I just want to discuss about the API, what is API, and where we use in the real time, and why we have to learn the JSON, importance of the JSON, and what are the basic methods, important basic methods that we are using in the APIs. Okay. Apart from that, we also have some more HTTP methods, but knowing about these methods is very important, because I already said you, this is a business operation, this is a CRUD operation, this is what we mainly do in any of the application. Okay, and also this is already I discussed, right? So API testing is nothing but a backend testing. Okay, so we have a front-end testing to perform the front-end testing to perform the front-end technology, means UI part. If you want to test the web UI, we have a front-end testing. If you want to test the data which is stored in the database, we have something called as a database testing, or ETL testing, something we call, right? Database testing. Okay. So then in between the presentation layer and in between the data layer, we have something called as a business layer. Okay. So this is a presentation layer, means the data which is visible to the user interface. Okay, so user interface is nothing but a presentation layer. Okay, so to test the presentation layer or to test the front end thing, we have other two technologies, right? We know the most famous technology is Selenium. Okay, so here for database testing also we have something other testing like a ETL testing, database testing, something we have, right? So in between this front end layer means presentation layer and the database layer, okay, whenever you send some information from the front end, okay, it will not directly go to the database. Okay, it will not directly go to the database. Here some process will happen. Okay, some processing will happen, then it will go to the database and then it will store inside the database. Okay, so what is this process? This is nothing but a business logic. Okay, so what is this business logic? The logic which is developed by the developer, okay, in order to process the information from from the presentation layer to the database layer. In between we have a business logic, right? So this business logic, okay, whatever the data we receive from the front end will get processed here and then it will go to the database and it will sit here, right? So this business logic is nothing but a API testing. Okay, so testing the business logic, okay, nothing but a API testing. Okay, so how we can perform all those things we'll be learning in the coming session. Okay, so this is how the flow work. This is the front end testing, this is the business logic testing, back end testing, this is the database testing. Okay, so this is how presentation layer, business layer and database layer come into the picture, and API testing will be coming in the business layer part. Okay, so this is the business layer part here where we can see the API testing. Okay, so if you know Selenium, if you know API testing, and if you learn the database testing, then you become a estate engineer. Okay, so this is like we call, right, in a developer, full stack developer. In similar way, here we are a full stack test engineer. If you learn this. Okay, yeah. So this is all the information that I want to give for the today's demo. So any question here? And anything you're not able to understand?
Madam, few things. Sometimes you have told about you are going to use RestAssured for automation. This RestAssured, is it similar to Eclipse or is it something different for automation?
Yeah, see, RestAssured is a library. Okay, so Eclipse is a tool. Yeah, okay. So you have to write the, say for example, here you have a Postman. Okay, so here you have a field to enter the your URL and field to perform some testing. You have here here you can have a space to write your code, right? So in similar way, you have to write a Java. You have to make use of a RestAssured library. You have to make use of a scenarios to means you have some workspace to write the scenarios, right? So you are using a Eclipse. Okay,
Correct.
so this is a space where you are writing the program. Okay, so RestAssured is a library, means while you are learning the Selenium, you have used some Selenium libraries, right, to take the methods. Okay, the similar way here we are using a RestAssured to perform the API testing. In front end we have used the Selenium to perform the front end testing. Here we are using a RestAssured to perform the testing. Okay, see here. So this is in a workspace. Okay, so in this space you are writing all your code. Okay.
Okay.
So anything else? Have any doubts?
Madam, anything about JMeter? Actually, I am also new for that JMeter.
So JMeter is like a performance testing you are asking, right?
Yes. That means, are you going to cover that part? Just asking.
No. So I know I'm not integrating with the JMeter and all here. Just it's completely regarding backend testing. That's it. Okay. So just now only make sure I'm just integrating GitHub Jenkins and Allure. When it comes to the report generation, I'm making use of Allure. Okay, so these three things I'm integrating with my framework. Okay, I'm not integrating any other thing, and also we are making use of a test engineer.
Okay. And is it an Cucumber framework or any other framework?
Yeah, Cucumber actually not created the framework with a Cucumber, just TestNG framework only we have used. But what I'm doing is in previous batch also. So the framework which we have, right? So for the framework only, I will be telling you how we can integrate the so how we can integrate the this one yeah, Cucumber. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will just instruct you guys. Okay. See, Cucumber is nothing but just an integration of the framework. Okay. So whatever the framework we have, or we can convert that framework to a Cucumber approach. I will just give you the idea, which is very easy. Just that is also like a framework that we can convert from this framework to that framework. I will just give you an idea how you can make use of that Cucumber feature in this frameworks. Okay.
Okay, so you mean to say you are going to do the automation using Eclipse using that REST assured libraries, and at a later moment you are going to move into Cucumber, just how to convert it.
Yeah, clear.
Actually, it is not required for me also Cucumber. I am already familiar. I was just asking what is the way you are explaining. It is also, if you are able to skip that part, that is also not an part for me. That means it will not be an issue for me. I was just asking the way of teaching it. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So anything else?
No, nothing from my side. Thank you.
Yes, Raman. Yeah, we can generate the report in Postman by automating scripts. Okay. See, by automating scripts in the sense, so you have to make use of, see, we can say, indirectly we can also say like we can achieve the automation using a Postman. Okay. How we can achieve the automation using a Postman? We have a JavaScript, right? So by making use of a JavaScript, we can also automate REST APIs in the Postman. Okay. But you have to be very familiar with the JavaScript in that case. Okay. So if you know the JavaScript, yes, you can do whatever the action that you are doing using a REST assured. Okay. You can implement the same thing in the Postman as well. You have to be very familiar with the JavaScript in that case. Okay. So here what happens in the Postman? So whatever the scripts we are using, so most of the scripts is available already in the Postman tool. Okay. So this is the beauty of the Postman, that most of the scripts is already available. We're just, see, if I want to set some variable, okay, I'm just clicking on the script. So the screen, here we can able to get that script. Okay. In between the scripts, for some other variation and all, we will be learning, okay, by using a Jdbc, some other methods we have internally in the Postman, we will be performing some other validation in order to make, strict validation. Okay. But at least basic scripts is already available here. Okay. So the basic scripts is already available. We can directly make use of it here. But if you want to create a complete automation scripts in the Postman itself, okay, we have to be very strong with the JavaScript. If you know the JavaScript, then whatever the task you achieve using the REST assured, we can also achieve here in the Postman as well. And we can also generate the report not only by, when we are using the JavaScript and when we are creating the scripts, not only by that time, here also we can generate the report in the Postman. See, in the Postman also we can integrate the report, we can integrate with the Jenkins, all those things we do here as well. Okay, because obviously, in your organization, maybe they're not following a REST assured way. Maybe they are using a Postman tool. So whenever your stakeholder or your manager or your leader or your, say, let's say that, client. Okay. So if they're asking you the, report, I mean to say result of the services, how you will give them? Okay. Do you give the demo every time? Means, sharing the screen to with them and showing and executing this, all those things is not possible, right? And they will not understand also whatever the thing you are doing, right? Because business people will not understand all those things. So they just want a complete colorful report, right? See what's happening there, like, how many failed, how many passed, all those things. They just need a report. So if you're working the Postman also, the Postman has to support integration. If it is not supporting, maybe Postman they will be not using much in the market, right? It has that advantage also. So we are using a Postman. So we'll also be learning that, okay, how to generate the report, okay, how we can integrate with a Jenkins, with the Postman, all those things. Basically here, whatever we are doing in the automation, the same thing also we'll be learning in the manual as well. Okay, means in the manual approach also we'll be covering entire thing from starting from a basics to advanced level. Okay, from scratch to advanced we are covering. After covering in the Postman, then we are jumping into the automation from basics to the advanced. Okay, so this course is designed in such a way that it is covers end to end completely, from very basics to advanced, and also it is suitable for all the freshers, experienced candidate, or the one who is working in a manual testing, they want to jump into the automation, and also the one who is working in a non-IT and they want to jump into the IT. For everyone, by considering everyone in a mind, so we are taking everyone in a single page. That's why, okay, we are starting with very basic concepts. Some of you know the basic concepts, even though we are taking, we are covering all those things because we have to cover all the people who are joining here, right? So that's the reason. Okay. Anything else, guys? Yeah. Thanks, Lakshman. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you have any queries, okay, you can call the management, and if you want to discuss with me before enrolling, just tell them, they will just connect with me. Okay. If you have anything else, just inform them. From my end, that's it for today. Okay. If you have anything else before ending this session, you just inform me. Or else we'll wind up the session for today. We'll connect again for the next session. Anything else?
Next session will be on Monday, madam, 7 o'clock.
Yes, yeah, Monday. Okay, guys, then thanks for joining. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am.